Hey guys, it's your big faced host, Sammy Jane here. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up again. This is another one of the interviews that I did before COVID, before the pandemic. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So if it seems confusing that it doesn't really align with the way we're living now, it absolutely does not. But Nikki Neon, my guest, and the interview that we did was just such a beautiful experience. And so the interview I did with Nikki Neon was such a beautiful, inspiring experience. And even though it's not exactly how we're living right now and things are different, it's really nice to remember what's important. And this interview did that for me, and I'm sure it will for you. So, guys, dig in. It's a two-parter, part one, part two. So 2 weeks coming at you. Enjoy, guys.
And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Hey, it's Nick Neon, and we are back with some more chit chat on the Big Face.
Woohoo! Big face! Part two with Nick Neon. Heyo. I actually wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
About that when he's on the roof, and it is significant. I just have to say yes that he's drinking in every scene,
Yeah.
and then he's drinking coffee. At young ages, we are ill-equipped to handle everything that life may have
Yeah.
may have thrown me. I was in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. I was so lost for so many years.
Yeah.
And I used so many things to numb out, to not it's life is hard.
Yeah.
But I just have to say I'm grateful that you grabbed a coffee. I'm grateful that you're making films.
Yeah.
I'm grateful because it could have gone in a different direction,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm
I was gonna say I owe the last 5-6 years to writing. Because everything that started this and triggered everything, it started with like someone who I thought once upon a time I wanted to marry. The first time I'd ever had that feeling.
yeah.
And we had only been together 3 months. And by that point, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
But I didn't but I was in a very toxic space, and he eventually left. And I had to, it felt like, I always say this, it was like he was right in front of me. And when he left me, it was like he stepped away and there was a mirror behind him. And when I saw my reflection, I was so disgusted and I hated myself.
Yeah.
And that put me on that path. But one thing that I remember doing in like 2014, that summer was very dark for me, but I was writing just in journals, like,
Yeah.
who is he? Why him? Why me?
Why?
Why? Like, why everything? And one day it just occurred to me, why did I want to marry someone I only knew for 3 months? Because I was so desperate to be saved, and that I was so lost, and that I had to do work. And that changed my life. And that led to me remembering that film was the most important thing. I was ready to give up my life for another person.
I know.
You know, like, just like, I was
get
like,
it.
I could be happy just like, I'll just teach English for the rest of my life and be happy with this person and watch movies together, and that will be my life.
Yeah.
And that was not for me, and I'm always so grateful. But my point just being that then that started the process of writing Ultra Blue, and then another one, and I keep going. And I never thought I'd be writing dramas, but I also never thought I could act in them. And that's what I always wanted. I wanted to create the vehicle for myself, to be heard and seen, and so that I could reflect. And that's what I'm finally doing through Jimmy Park. And I'm just grateful because it's not just the queer community that has responded. And that to me is so powerful.
I identify with everything that you're saying so much.
Yeah.
And with his character, it is not just a queer thing. It is a soul thing.
Yeah.
That I identify with wholly. Man, yeah, it's just and you know that person for me. I've had that person where it was all about that person. And for it to be all about that person was just another aspect of alcohol or drugs or food or anything
Right,
that
just a
just took
substitution. Yeah,
to
yeah.
not
People
have to
can be
be
that
with my
too. Yeah, yeah.
there's anything
Yep.
that makes me not have to be with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yes.
and so while it was so heartbreaking and excruciating to lose these things or people over time, it was a blessing. Like you're saying, like I got to learn, I got to be with me, who
No.
I never even knew. I had to learn. It was a process and still a
Yeah.
process to be good with
Right.
me,
Right.
Man. But yeah, and so much I want to say.
Yeah.
What made you, this is total veering off, but what
Yeah.
made you go to Korea?
Um,
It's probably not veering off, as a matter
it's
of fact.
probably not.
It's probably
right?
exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. This is crazy. Well, so like again, my mom's Korean, and I grew up in a lower class family, so we never went. Never happened.
Yeah.
Never afforded it. We never afforded it, and it never happened. And then my parents split around 11, and from there forward, I just I just like I knew I was gay early on,
Yeah.
and so during the divorce, I started to blame myself for it. I was like, oh, they split up because I'm gay, unfounded, but that's what I thought.
Of course.
And
I don't say of course.
No, I know.
just
Yeah, yeah,
mean
but of course
that's very
that's what I would
common.
do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, of course, as
yeah,
kids,
I
it's
get
all
it.
about us.
Yes,
And
yeah. And so, I basically grew up, like I spent my adolescence kind of being raised by film and TV and video games, like just in my room. I locked myself away. And then went to college and did the thing that I loved being around, which was film. And so by the time I was leaving school, like, I think it's important to state that, like, my mom was the one who left. So I stayed with my brother and father.
Yeah.
And so that, but there was always this lingering thing of my mother. Like, she was like this ghostly thing that slipped through my fingers. And, eventually we were all in touch, and, we had a relationship, but it was just not the same.
Yeah.
And I'm still on this journey of like of healing that wound from childhood. But, obviously my mom is like the Korean part, and I identify as Asian, so much so.
Yep.
So like losing that truly like kind of was like losing sections of my spine. And in 2007, there was like bubbling news about this like Korean film that was making waves, and it was a monster movie, and I was like, what the fuck? Because I'm obsessed with monster movies. And they were like rave reviews, and it was by this filmmaker named Bong Joon-ho. And Bong Joon-ho just recently won 4 Oscars for Parasite, and I've seen it 11 times.
Have you?
Yeah,
I haven't
and
even
because
seen it yet.
and so for me, it's like
Of course.
my journey is like bookended. Like my journey to find who I am and then claim it is bookended by that man and his journey. And like I just remember in 2007 watching his film, thinking it was so incredible and so beautiful, and then I bought tickets for my mom and I to go see it together. And I'll never forget her just being like, it was good, but Hollywood's better. And I'm like, leave it to my fucking mom to be like more American than me now, and I've got all this Korean pride, and she's like over it. And so like
been there, done that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And but that movie, while watching it the first time, I was like, I think I want to go to Korea after I graduate. So that was the impetus. That just seeing the environment, I felt like I was home. I felt like I knew these people and that energy and that culture. And I was like, this sounds like something I need to do for myself. And then that started, like a year-long journey of figuring out how it was going to happen while I was like in my final year of college. Then I ultimately stumbled upon teaching English, where they would pay for your apartment, pay for your airfare, pay you a good salary. You just needed to be able to speak English and have a degree. And so it was this ridiculous thing. And and so at 21, I graduated at 21, and I had my first apartment, and I was living free, and it was this incredible journey. And that's what started my train, like in Korea and that part of my life. And I basically feel like I spent basically most of my 20s overseas. And then it's like
no,
I finally came back
Yeah.
and started making films that I was in, and I said I'm an actor, and I held on to that. And so back to 2008 when I was graduating, I was like, I can't be an actor. I don't see Asian faces, and I don't see, like gay people.
Yeah.
It's like 12 years later, the man whose film inspired me to go to Korea and find my culture and my cultural background and to be more proud of being Asian. It's like he, like his latest film reminds me absolutely of why I want to do this.
Yeah.
And so like there was like this moment when the Oscars were happening where I was just like, this is I don't even know, like this is complete magic.
I just have to comment
Yeah.
on like there's something about, so like, okay, you're Asian, gay, and you're like, I don't see these things, so it made you feel like I have no spot acting, like there's not a spot for me.
Yeah.
And I'm taking that in for myself as well, and I'm saying this for every person out there that feels like they don't know where they fit, if there is a space to fit, what the climate is, what their type is, which is something we hear so often in this business, right?
Yep.
Type.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And ironically,
Go ahead,
that I just want to add, like,
No.
that's part of my issue with like the gay community. It's this hyper fetishized culture of types. We have a name. We have a fucking animal name for every body type.
Yep.
And everybody has their preference. And to me, that is like, it's so disruptive to finding connection with other human beings because there's a huge wall there. Just to
No.
throw in like that type in any format is a
And
inhibitor.
And it's a social construct
Yep.
that just, in my opinion, it just gives people a way for them to feel comfortable within
Yes.
whatever box we're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Western medicine. There are diagnoses about being
Yeah.
bipolar or
Yeah.
bipolar 2 or blah, blah. And the thing is, and I remember speaking about this with somebody and wondering about like my mental illness runs in my
Yeah.
family and what are the chances of me having and all this stuff. And the thing is that somebody explained to me very clearly that all of those guidelines and the DSM and that all that stuff for psychology is to be able to put it in a box, to be able to bill insurances, so that way.
Oh my god.
And that's the thing, is that there are all these diagnosis codes for billing and what you're under and how to treat and what boxes to check.
Yeah.
And somebody explained to me very clearly that we are not one thing. We are not any or all of those things. We are aspect of so many things. But
Yeah.
people need to put it in a box so they know how to approach it.
Yeah.
It has more to do with them than it has to do with us,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree.
And so there are all these labels and shit
Yep.
that make people feel better or give people a purpose as to how to go on.
Yeah.
Fuck the construct.
Yeah.
And
It also isolates everyone else on the other side
Exactly.
of it. On the journey to try and find your self-worth, it isolates the other again. And it goes against
Over
the
and
code
over.
of the simple fact that we are all human.
And there is no one type.
Yeah.
There is no one type, even if it checks a box. Somebody with this mental disease and another person with the exact same thing, it's not the exact same thing. The way that they struggle, the way that it manifests, the way
Their
that they suffer,
environments, yeah.
it is completely different. So while you can give it the same diagnosis code or the same label in the gay community or whatever the fuck it is, it means fuck all.
Yeah.
And the same thing with this acting world and directing and everything. And I'm saying this for myself as well right now. I am not a type. I'm comedic. I'm dramatic. I have an expressive face that gets me into trouble and does not. Hence the name Big Face.
Big
I
Face.
have a big ass face. It is noisy. I'm expressive. I feel shit. But so for anybody out there, and I'm saying this because we're saying this like, I identify with a million things and nothing at all. I can feel all alone and that I'll never find a place for myself or figure out what my message is, or am I a fraud? And I'm just saying this. I think, look, even being here with my friend, my dear friend who's so talented and lovely and soulful, you identify with me
I
and
do.
I identify with you. And we are so different. If you could see us, we are so different.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. But yet the connection,
Our
is the
connection.
humanity thing.
Yep. And so, like, any of you listening out there, you're not alone.
No.
There is a spot for you in this business, if it is for this business,
No.
or in this world. If it's just trying to carve a space out for yourself, you deserve that. And you own your own spot. And I say that for myself as well.
Yeah. Well said.
So, onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
So I totally cut you off, didn't I?
No, I don't.
So Korea.
No, yeah. Just
And
that's it.
Question: being in Korea, did that help you get back in touch with identifying and being more okay with being Asian and being Korean?
So ironically, it didn't in some regards because I discovered I was still other. You know, like
Yes.
I've spent my whole life being told what the fuck I am and how I'm supposed to behave. And I am done with that.
Yeah.
Again, constructs. You know, like when I'm here, it's like I didn't feel white enough to hang out with the white kids, but the Asian kids didn't want to hang out with me because I looked white. You know, when I'm in Korea, I'm clearly foreign. When I'm here, I feel foreign.
Yeah.
You know, and
Even in New York
everybody
City.
and everybody wants to tell me what I am. And it's so frustrating. And I often go back to this one example where it's like a lot of people always like, they were like, yeah, but you take on the privilege of like the white side. And I'm just like, you don't know shit about me.
Yeah.
You don't know at all about any of the fucking
Privilege?
racism
Yeah.
that I absorbed on my mother's behalf.
Exactly.
Or how much shame I had having a Asian mother. Everyone just calling me, like saying she's Chinese, like having a Chinese
Yeah.
mom, not ever respecting that Korea was its own country. You know, like there were moments where I was so embarrassed to like admit that I had a Korean mother.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to be seen. You know, and then I look at my face and it's like I want to change my nose. I wanted a Caucasian nose because I have this like flat wide nose, and it's like all the fucking ways in which we want to rip ourselves apart because the world did it first.
Right.
And I just don't. So anyway, so I learned that the hard way, that going to Korea didn't solve the issue, but there were tons of cultural things that made me realize I was Korean. And those are things that I probably absorbed via my mother as a child that I just understood intrinsically. You know, even like some of the language came to me so naturally, and I just kind of had to understand that like I probably subconsciously just listened to my mom talking to her friends or being on the phone, and it just it was in there. I was raised
It's in your
Korean in a sense.
genetics.
It's in my genetics in
literally.
some way. It actually is. And
I truly believe that.
So so Korea was an interesting exercise in discovering what parts of me are Korean and what parts aren't, and does it matter, and ultimately just discovering that I'm just Nick.
What's amazing to me is that as you're saying that, I'm just thinking about my mom, who was from Argentina. And nobody in the world or in this business ever considers me anything other than white.
Yeah.
So my mother, you know, it's amazing to me because I think back and, you know, I wish I could ask her as an adult, but she cared so much to assimilate when she got to this country. Her name was Ana, A-N-A. She legally changed it to Anne. She didn't teach us Spanish, and that was her first language. She didn't speak English until she came here when she was 18.
Yeah.
We had not an ounce, except always, like you said, I have an ear for Spanish because she spoke with her whole family. You know, I never knew what it meant, but it's exactly what you're saying. And it's just, we all like have these things about ourselves that we like shun.
Yep.
That are part of who we are. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame.
And now we're living in a culture where everybody also wants to dictate for you what those things are. And that's like, it's just fucking garbage.
Exactly. And you've always, you know, I've always told you this, you've always inspired me. I want to create my own material. I want to make films, make content. And I love, you know, you said something earlier about, you know, not knowing what to do or how to do it right. So you're just paralyzed by that.
Yeah.
And I believe you said it way more eloquently.
No,
but
that was it.
And that is the tale of my life.
Yeah.
I want to do it right. I want to be
Yeah, we
right.
all want to perfect.
And
We
if I
want to be
can't do it
perfect
right-
before we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't strike until everything is lined up, and it's just not how the world works.
Yeah.
You just have to go in.
And I think we just got to love ourselves in all aspects of the process and just do it.
Yeah, you have to love yourself and trust yourself enough to just do it.
Just be. Mm-hmm. There's no downside.
And the thing is that here's the thing. I've done this now a few times, and here I am at the start of the next one, the 4th round, and it's like, I know better. So that's what's different about now because of 01.
Yeah.
You know, I have a tattoo commemorating it. It's like,
do you?
I do.
I haven't
it
seen
just
this
says,
yet.
It
Have
just
I?
says nothing good on the back of my arm. It's for people behind me as I keep going forward with my life.
You told me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the
And it's for
diner.
them to interpret, because I've often felt like people have basically said I was nothing good. But it really is. Nothing good gets away.
You're way more than good. You were, and you know how I feel. You're beyond special. You're just the best.
Thank you.
We need to shoot something in that diner where we had that,
Oh, yeah.
where we had our diner
Oh,
night
God. I know.
recently.
That's a
Dude,
great diner.
that was intense. The music, guys, if you could have seen this, it was like we came in and like Nick's got like this color on that like goes so well with like the mustard leather fake seats and like the lighting was all like dim and the music was like classic like 50s. Was it 50s music? I mean, it was
Like
just
Sinatra.
Yeah, it was just it was just some really good.
Very classy.
Oh.
Yeah, just a classy diner moment.
It was a
in Queens.
good, and asking for pickles and them looking
Yeah.
at me. I'm like this little Jew from Long Island. They were like, pickles? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? You don't start at a diner with pickles and coleslaw? When am I coming?
That was my favorite thing.
You were like, oh shit, pickles.
Pickles, yeah. No, because I'm fucking obsessed with pickles, but I never thought I could ask a diner to give me pickles instead of like, I don't know, coleslaw or like bread.
It ain't a diner unless they give you
No,
pickles.
yeah.
All right, so much that we still want to talk about. But you did mention about Jurassic Park when it all started.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just curious, is that when it all started? Jurassic Park?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
my first, so it's
tell
like
me.
funny. My tats really tell that story, but it's like my first tattoo was the Jurassic Park trademark logo right there.
Nah.
Yeah. And then Nothing Good is like from my latest film
Yes.
tagline. And it's like, I think that journey's complete. The tattoos were meant to be reminders to myself so I stay on track. And now I feel like I'm pretty on track. But I mean, I don't know. What is there not to say about Jurassic Park? It's fucking Jurassic Park. I was 6 years old. My family was perfect at the time. You know, there was no issue. There was no foreseeable divorce, coming up. Like I was a happy kid with my brother and my mom and dad, and we go to watch this movie. I don't even think I saw the trailer. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know anything about this movie, but we and it's just funny because it's like my parents, I do owe it to my parents because they always were watching movies, and like that's what got me here. Movies are the oldest things I can remember in my life, and I'll never forget. I was 6 years old. I to this day can recall the theater I was sitting in, where in the theater I was seated. I almost can see myself outside of my body watching this film, watching the other people watch the film. I'll never forget the finale in my head thinking, this is impossible. How are they going to get out of this alive when the two raptors are on either side of them in the visitor center? Like,
Oh my God.
and they're just like,
Right.
and the four of them are like holding each other, and it's like Laura Dern and Sam Neill, and they're just holding the kids. And I remember so clearly being like, what are they gonna do? And when that T-Rex comes in and saves the day, like it just like it was an outer body experience, and I didn't know at the time that that's what I wanted to do. I thought that was magic. I thought I was watching someone sifted gold in the river and put it on screen, and it was like that's what happened. No one actually made it. There wasn't
Right.
an army of people constructing this film. I just thought it was real and magic in it, and I would always enjoy it.
What's interesting is that it's not until more recent years I watch films and I actually pay attention to the directors. When I was a kid, I'd watch movies and it was like, yeah, like I'd just look at the actors and be really excited.
Oh,
but I
interesting. That's so
never
funny.
really understood what a director's job was until like I started as a casting
Right,
director and then was told I was a director and then I started directing. And then that's like, I realized that is enormous. That is just, and so now every time I watch something, I want to know who's the DP, who's the director. Like it's
Right,
so
right.
significant. It's the editor.
Yeah, the craftspeople.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It for those of you that are not in this world or haven't yet had experience, it's unbelievable what role those people play in how you experience this stuff. And
I mean, yeah. I mean, even like, you know, the DP, like the cinematographer can change literally how you look on screen with a lens. The editor can make a performance better or worse by where they cut in silence or, you know, where the actor's pausing. It's really like every single part of it is a really intricate facet.
yep.
It's like an organic watch. You know, it's not like precision like a Swiss watch.
Right.
It's this organic fucking watch that's being crafted and everything is about the craftsmanship of it. But it's like, but
I love that.
you can't fully predict the shape of it in the end.
Nope.
But at the end, it will work and it will tell you the fucking time.
On point. I love it. So that was it for you. That was the start. Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. I didn't know it at the time, you know, and then that led to, and then the reason I got my tattoo was like in college, I found myself being very nostalgic and like looking back to the past and when I was happy, and my happiest memories were like being a kid, right? And then I remember I was working at the library and in my off time, I was just like on the computer. I was actually like in this phase of like buying
You
old
worked in a
toys.
library?
Yeah,
So
the
did
school
I.
library. That's too funny.
That is funny, man.
Yeah.
Because we're so
Doesn't
not like
surprise me.
library people. Like,
Yeah, no, actually, right. Yeah,
Like-
yeah. But it's funny. Some of my best ideas that I'm still developing came from that library. I'm like, this is my biggest mantra is like go slow and get bored. And for me, the library was the ultimate example of that. And I don't think it could be any more relevant today. You
go
know,
slow and get bored.
Go slow, get bored.
Folks, you hearing that, kids?
That's
Go
like-
slow.
yeah.
That's a Nicki Neon right now. Quote that shit. Put on a t-shirt. Smile that shit up. You heard it here first.
Yeah, no, it's my thing.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's a really good reminder.
It is, yeah. That's what I adhere to it now. That's why I went on my social media detox. Like I still haven't gone back. I said I was gonna go back basically Oscar night, and it's been a week now. Oh yeah, a week. It's been a week extra than I planned to go on this detox, but I've been happy kind of just not being so constantly distracted, honestly. Like it's just like,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
I have this thing. So I've been with social media, like I've been told you should do that. You should put yourself out there. You should let people know you got to, and I hate that in our climate. We have to do that, especially in this business. But then I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I'll put myself out there with all this trepidation and all this like, I don't want to do it. It feels grimy.
Yeah.
But I do it, and then I don't look back at it. So like I have this like weighted stress of like I have to write back to all these people that wrote, which is nice.
That's why I
Yeah.
left for my detox. I hold too much empathy, and it starts to wear me down. I feel like I owe everyone a response.
That is me. I swear to you, if I showed you my list of things to do today,
Yep.
it is Instagram, Facebook responses.
Yep.
This is, I swear, it's been on my list of things to do for days and days, probably like a couple weeks. Actually, no joke, there's things that I mean to respond to from months ago.
Yeah.
That's how much it weighs
I'm sure
on
I
me.
am. Yeah, I'm sure I still have. I had when I left like 20 unanswered messages on my DMs, and I'm sure there's a few more.
And the thing is that I appreciate that people care to
Sure.
reach out and connect with me. So then it feels really crappy to
Right,
not
to
respond
not
to
respond,
that
right.
because
Yeah,
because I know for me to take the action to even have time to send somebody a text, it's like there's just not enough time in a
But
day.
you know, and I was gonna say like the funny thing about that is that we share that right now, and I think everyone does. But the thing we don't think about is like, do you ever like just do that? Like, aren't you ever the person who sends the message? And
Yeah.
you don't really care for the response. Like I find I
Yes.
do that a lot. I'm like, I fucking loved your thing. Please keep doing what you're doing,
Yep.
whatever. It's not like I wanted a response. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And so it's like when it's on us, we always add more.
It's amazing.
It's that fucking imposter thing. It's like in a different way.
Yes.
You know?
You know what's so interesting? Of course you do that. And of course that is so you to send a message without expecting a response, without even caring.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. If I send a message and I truly care to connect with somebody, there is this piece of like, I hope to hear back.
Yeah.
But there is no expectation because I know me. There's so many people I care about that I don't have time to get back to.
Right.
So I let it go and I don't take it personal.
See, that's what I do too. Yeah. Some of the times I reach out and it's like, I'd hope for a response, sure. But I don't hold it against the person.
I never do. But that's so many friends that I've lost in my life that took everything personal.
Exactly.
And couldn't understand that it wasn't about them. Uh-huh. I learned that. I take very little personal. It's, you know, so much is not about us.
Yeah. I really believe in that. Like, you have to kind of move through life with humor.
God, I gotta laugh more.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. I think laughter is the only thing keeping me alive.
I swear to God, when I'm in my worst places, if I can remember to do this, there was something I watched a bazillion years ago where somebody was like, when you're so miserable, just start to laugh. Like out of nowhere. And like, just start to laugh.
Huh.
And I promise it'll make you feel better. And I'm not kidding. This is so rare that I actually take that advice.
Yeah.
But there have been times in my life where I was in a really bad place and I thought of it. And I just started to pretend to laugh.
Uh-huh.
And the very act of that is like, you know, I've been in Andy Roth's class, you know, VO class. Yeah. And he talks a lot about outside in acting. He's like, you're going to get all in your head and your heart trying to experience this thing. He's like, just, you know, and he just does all this stuff with his hands and his personality that like affects a character, like that makes a character act a certain way just by being external about it. And it's interesting. Yeah. You just start to laugh and your face goes into this position and you start making this noise. And then all of a sudden I genuinely start laughing. Yeah. Because like, it's fascinating. Funny.
That's cool.
I almost want to try it with you right now.
Yeah, no.
It's such a private thing because it's so weird. But like, no joke. If like, seriously, I won't even look at you. But just try and like look away and just start to pretend to laugh. I'll do it too if you want.
Okay. Wow. No, it's true. Holy shit.
Right?
It makes you laugh.
It makes you laugh because it's like silly. Because you're like, pretend laughing.
That first laugh, you ladies and gents out there and everyone in between, that first one was definitely fake. It was cubic zirconia. And then the last one was definitely a full Hardy Nick Neon laugh. That killed me.
For real, right? But like, and then it was just contagious because then I was like, we're both laughing at nothing. This is hysterical.
Wow. That's a bit of alchemy there.
It always stuck with me, and I don't do it often enough. But like, there's something to be said about like smiling and it's just like and just doing that. Mm-hmm. And it just, I don't know, it's something light about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start putting that in there.
Right? Yeah. Taking it with us.
Putting it in my moments.
Yeah. Why not, man? Life's too short.
Especially when you're alone. Yeah. It's funny, like a weird side thing. It's like my true bar of measure for like how funny a film is if I'm laughing when I'm alone watching it.
Dude, that happens.
Huge. That it's like the ratio of films that actually make me laugh when I'm alone, as opposed to everybody's laughing and I just kind of join in.
Yes,
it's huge. There's a gap, and so very few films truly like get into my heart, my funny bone, and tickle it.
Do a lot of things make you laugh out loud?
Not in movies, not in
Me
like
neither.
Comedy or honestly, real life makes me laugh. And the thing that fucking kills me and makes me laugh the hardest is like real world reacting. So like seeing a real person react to something will kill me, you know. And then it's like if you're watching it sort of in a fabricated situation or like fictional thing, it's really hard to make me laugh because I know they're trying.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I find genuine reactions hysterical.
And the thing is that in real life and in television and film, it's usually the very silly, unexpected, not very funny things, but that are just silly that crack me up. And that's in real life too. It's like the silly little things that like I find such joy in. But like it takes a lot to make me laugh out loud.
Same. Yep.
If I'm watching a
You're
film
right.
or
Same,
stand up or
same.
something.
Yeah.
Can you think of something that has made you laugh out loud, like a stand up or a show? What has made you laugh out loud? I just thought of one thing.
Yeah. Well, what is it for you?
I just thought of one thing that made me laugh out very loud. Have you ever seen Ricky Gervais's stand up Out of England 2?
No.
There's this one thing that he does, and if anybody's seen it out there, I won't ruin it for you because you should see it, because if you like him, I think
cool.
he's wonderful. But he's pointing to the animals, and he's doing this voice, and he's going, huh? Yeah. Huh? Nah. And he does it over and over. And like a little kid, I like almost peed my pants.
Yeah. No, that's too
Because
funny.
his face and his accent, yeah. And I lost my shit. It's so simple, silly and simple.
Right.
But it was just,
But it got in touch.
got
in
me.
touch, and it's in tune with something
Yes.
in you. Yeah.
What about you? Can you think of something?
I mean, recently, I'm not even sure. Like,
What's
to think.
or a movie or a show that makes you laugh? Yeah. It's a rough one, right?
It's a rough one. That's what I mean. Like, it's truly like it's hard for me to think of them.
Some people
It's like
are not
here.
like that.
I got to be honest. So I can't give you one. But what I can give you is like reading fucking YouTube comments when people are upset or like something. My favorite is when someone loves something or hates something, and the ways in which they describe. They feel
Dude,
so
this day and age.
responsible to like explain through metaphor and analogy like why something is so amazing or why it's so bad, and it's like they don't realize how creative they're being.
Oh, it's
you know what I mean? You can't write
You
can't write
can't.
that shit. Some of the shit that these people comment on, that kind of thing is right now the thing that makes me laugh.
Okay.
Makes me laugh the most.
Have you ever read Haribo sugar-free
Oh my
gummy
god!
bears?
Oh my god! Oh my god! That okay. Back from in 2009, I was like one of the I was like one of the like OGs. I was like one of the original people to find those randomly. I was before it
Oh my
became like a
God.
meme online. And
Is it
like,
a meme online? My brother
now,
just told me about it,
no,
and I was
it's
like,
it's
and
like, yeah, in recent years it came back. But I was like, I remember being in Korea and I was like trying to think of things to have my friend send me back in terms of care packaging.
Yeah.
And I was like on this like no sugar kick thing. And I was like, but I love gummy bears and I can't find gummy bears in Korea. And I was like, are there like sugar-free gummy bears? And that was literally how that started for me. And I remember being on a fucking train in Korea, in Seoul.
Oh my God.
And they are the most quiet motherfuckers
Are
on
they?
the planet. Like, and if you are loud at all,
right.
they call you
That's
out on
right.
it. So
I had a
like,
friend that was
it's like they're very
so
about polite,
Yeah,
like
oh
silent
God.
culture.
Too much.
Yeah, almost too much for me. Yeah, I'm loud
It's
as hell.
too much for them. I feel sorry.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
you're not even allowed to be a
Right.
human.
Yeah, it's changing with the younger generations,
I
but
hope
it's definitely
so.
there. But
So good.
I'm on this train reading the reviews, and the ways in which these people tell their stories and they prepare you. They like start with a prologue and like they go into the first act. They go to like they climax. Humans are natural storytellers.
Oh my God.
That like just read the reviews for Haribo sugarless gummies and you will find some of the funniest fucking stories.
Dude,
I was laughing so hard that I was embarrassed and I was red and I was shaking
on the train.
and
Oh my
everybody was
God.
watching me and I felt I had to get off the train and sit on the bench and finish reading all of them. And there were like 50 to 100 reviews at the time.
dude.
So the fact that you just brought that up, that's the funniest thing I've ever encountered. Yeah.
Dude,
Easily.
When I read those, like,
Yeah.
because my brother's just, my brother lived in Portland, Oregon for like ever. This was years ago, and he was like, "Oh," because I was eating some sugar-free candy.
Yeah.
He was like, "Did you ever have a sugar-free gummy?"
Yeah.
And then he just was like, he's like, "Read these,"
yeah.
and I was like, "What?"
I know. It is. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, it's too
They
good.
are literally so funny. It
They're
was like
so
I was
graphic.
splitting.
They're
That's what I mean. So
so-
graphic and so like filled with metaphors.
Every detail
Like,
is
and
like,
it's like, and then the third circle of hell opened up, and like everyone has some incredible, so descriptive. It's the best.
God.
Oh my god.
Oh my
yeah.
God, it's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, for years, I remember spending like a Saturday night getting drunk with an ex. Reading those reviews again, like to me that was like our date
That
night,
is-
and
that is
we
a date
spent
night for sure.
we spent probably 3 hours laughing with each other so hard and drinking and lying in bed just reading these reviews. That's
Dude,
that kind of
is
thing
like,
you can't make
see,
up.
that's
Yeah.
the kind, right?
It was beautiful.
It is beautiful, like for real.
And here's the thing, you know why? Because it was honest.
It's
Everything is
honest.
about honesty, like humor, truth, like everything.
Everything. And
Everything
that's
comes back to truth. That's
so
why it's funny. That's why movies don't make me laugh as much. It's like
right.
reactions make me laugh because it's the truth.
It's the truth. That makes
The truth is what we're right here. Yeah.
that's exactly
That's what this conversation
that's
is. It's about truth.
That's why we connect.
Yep.
That's why we are drawn towards the same kinds of things. That makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's why your work speaks, because it doesn't hide around trying to make it look good.
Yeah.
It's trying not to hide and make it look how it really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a journey, because that is, for me as a human, the hardest thing. It's been a journey to let people see me, to really let people see me.
Yeah.
There's something that you said, being truthful. And comedy springs from the truth, which is what Anthony, my old acting teacher, would always say, right? Comedy springs from the truth.
Yeah.
And so when you said earlier that you never saw yourself creating films or directing drama, or especially acting in drama, what did you see yourself? Because actually, one question I had, I have hardly looked at my list because we're just talking, but was like, could you ever see yourself doing comedy? And is that something that you saw over drama, or was it more
Interesting.
horror
Yeah.
and stuff?
Yeah, no, so initially, like when I was back in the phase of like I'm just gonna direct movies, I am still to this day like a massive horror fan. I'm big on visceral feelings, visceral reactions, visceral, the ride.
Yes.
So for me, that is like a big thing. So I am gonna make a big return to horror. It's I have a few pieces that I'm like ready, but I just know that I think I have to do it in this order right now because I have the resources and tools, and it doesn't cost as much to make this sort of film.
Yeah.
And hopefully it allows for me to be in a better position to ask for more resources and budget and stuff, so that I can truly art direct the shit out of the horror that I want to do. But I want to do horror and blend it with like K-pop sensibilities, and like I just want to do this crazy thing of like blending genres. So that's later.
Okay.
But the thing about the comedy, like honestly, I don't think I would ever do like a straight up comedy. Just it's not my thing. But I think everything that I do try and instill it with comedy. And again, and it's like the comedy has to come from the truth. So like 01 gets massive laughs like throughout. Like, and I just didn't see that coming. I didn't know it was gonna happen. I was just trying to be truthful. And the dinner scene in particular is literally like, it kills. It is the most crowd pleasing. Like everyone is screaming and hooting and hollering and like engaging the.
So good.
It's like it's really intense. And then they go dead quiet when the fight starts to come out. And that was what I was hoping to achieve when I was writing it. And then when we were editing it, I was like trying to build a rhythm to the scene.
Yeah.
And it's a long sequence. It's like 7-8 minutes long. So like I hoped the scene would get a good reaction. Like I wanted 01 for me was the dysfunctional family dinner film. I wanted to do my version of the fucked up dinner. And so like, there's two ways to play that. There's like make it extremely dark, and then there's a way of doing it where it's like funny. And then I decided I wanted to blend the two. I wanted to like disarm the audience by making it start very light and strange and funny. And then I wanted to get to the heart of it, which was that he says, like, just because, like, or rather, telling me that you love me but you can't accept me doesn't equal love. And that's the truth. And I needed to get a scene built upwards to that moment, to get Jim to get that upset. And to say also, like, the thing is, I'm always ashamed, Dad. Like, that to me was, those two lines, like, to his family, were so important to me. And
I know.
So, and so it's like, I felt like if it was all serious, the power of those moments would be lost. So, just for multiple reasons. And so like I believe in the power of humor, and without humor, we would not be here. Like, I feel like, I kept saying like humor has saved my life. So so that was an example of like, I would do humor and comedy like that. And I mean, my horror films will have comedy, like always an element of humor, but I wouldn't do an outright comedy. I'd never say never.
I was gonna say,
But
never say never, because I'll say that,
Yeah, yeah,
because you do have a very comedic bone in you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not a slapstick comedy in your face bone.
No.
It's a darker, more subtle humor.
Yeah, and my favorite films, comedy films, are black comedies. I love
That's
dark.
I was going to
humor.
ask you,
Yeah, yeah.
what are your? That's one of the questions I was going to
Yeah,
ask you.
like Death Becomes Her. That, do you know that?
I haven't. I don't think
Oh
I've
my
seen
God,
that.
it's an old one. It's
Yeah.
like a cult classic now, but it's about like our obsession with beauty and wanting to live forever. And it's got like Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, and Meryl Streep really hamming it up. It's like A-list actors in a B-list movie with like A-list special effects.
Oh my
But they
God.
basically, I mean, I don't want to say a lot, but they're fighting over the same man, and they are both obsessed with like not getting older, and it takes them
Vanity.
down some really fucked up roads. Yeah.
Oh, I want to see it.
It's pretty good. Yeah. But anyway, so like that type of thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say also, like, I don't think I would direct a comedy, but I would sure as hell star in comedies.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely love that energy.
Yep.
And that's like, like that was born in like my time doing improv as well.
Yeah.
And
When are we going to create something together?
I know. Obviously I believe in the timing
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah.
We've always said that.
Yeah. But I think we have something to create. Yeah.
I definitely do.
Like, see, that's the other thing. Like with you, like I could foresee it being like kind of a dark comedy, like having comedy in there, sort of, and
I think because we can both think on a very similar plane, but because we're both very different, we can also stretch each other
yeah,
in different
yes,
directions,
yeah, yeah.
which I think what we bring to the table would be a really awesome collaboration,
yes,
an
yeah,
interesting one.
yeah, I agree.
And when the time is right, it will be a really wonderful thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's a thing of like the story revealing itself.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
And I think
And I feel like that was like a thing when we were starting to become closer
Yeah.
and talking, and like I went shadowed the Anthony Abison class
Yes.
and stuff. And we're just kind of like vibing, and it's like I relate more to female characters, you were relating more to male characters.
that's
So like,
that was a huge thing,
yeah.
because
I didn't really acknowledge it until then either. Like I didn't realize it until you were like, well, pick monologues or scenes or that you do, and I was like,
yeah.
I instantly kept thinking of these female characters.
Right.
Yeah.
And that for those of you listening, like that was something huge that Nick and I in our friendship discovered. So whenever I have written, I always write in the voice of a male. It is very, very, I don't know why, but that's just genuinely what comes from me. And every character, whether I pick a monologue or I pick something I want to do, it's very hard for me to find something that a female has done that I'm deeply drawn to. It's always male. And whenever, like, people are always like, who are your favorite actors? It's usually men. It's very few. And so, like,
Yeah. Complete opposite. for
and
me.
complete opposite. And like, so, yeah. And so when we discovered that, like, you identify so much with the female voice
Yeah.
and female actors that you totally adore. I think that's fascinating about us.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to lead to like the right collaboration.
Yep.
Yeah.
When the day comes, we'll have really
Oh, yeah.
great times with it.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. What else? There's so much that I want to ask you, and there's so much, but a couple of things. We both love When Harry Met Sally.
Oh. Whew. I was just talking about it last night.
Were you?
Yep. We were at like a birthday thing, and the birthday girl and her boyfriend had finally saw it. They had finally just seen it, and I was just like, oh, it's the classic. It's the best. It's
best.
one, and
Yeah.
it's, and 30 years later, it's still so contemporary and so. What's the word? What am I thinking? It's so.
It holds up.
It holds up.
Relevant.
So it's so relevant. Thank
Ugh.
you. It's like so relevant today.
It's amazing.
The tech of dating has changed.
Yes.
We're not using Rolodex.
Right.
We got Tinder.
Right.
But that the way in which people think and like how they want to like
Yep.
like get over people and
Yes.
rebound or like
Yes. And their
divorce
hopes
or
of people
hopes
that
of, yeah,
when
everything is so
It's
relevant
that-
today
I
still.
know.
And it's almost like nothing has changed. And
It's
it's
amazing.
not a coinkydink that it was written by a woman. I don't believe. Nora Ephron is
I
fucking
know,
stunning.
dude.
I love her. She's one of my favorite voices. And actually, it's funny. When Harry Met Sally is one of the screenplays on my computer that I'll access and reference while writing Electric Mars. Not for
Really?
like pure content reasons, but just because I feel like my film is going to also similarly have like a lot of dialogue. And I'm trying to see like, I just want to see like where my beats are lining up and on what pages hers lined up. And, you know, like it just is a helpful tool to kind of figure out like, to shape my version of a story about lovers. Figuring it out.
Like seeing, like, especially when you identify with somebody's writing about the way that they see it and that it holds still true to you. That makes, it's like a North Star in a sense of like keeping aligned with yourself.
It's like When Harry Met Sally, Eternal Sunshine, the Before trilogy. That's literally my holy trinity of love stories.
Wow.
And then maybe and then maybe like right below it is actually Brokeback Mountain.
Do you know I still have not seen that movie?
Wow.
I know. It's kind of like a,
so beautiful.
It's
one of those things where like, I think it's like, and it's like within my community again, there's like there's a lot there to unpack about, like, you know, it's like two straight men playing gay men.
Yeah.
And then there's a straight director and all this stuff. And it's like, here's the thing. I will take that movie over a lot of gay directed films any day because that one still feels more truthful about the human condition. And I don't care what, it's like Ang Lee lost his father around the time that he got that script. And that was his entry point into the film. That idea of losing the one you love. And so like his film is punctuated throughout by that feeling of like losing love and what it's like to be a lonely person. And I thought he honored what it felt like to be gay to a T. You know, like
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible film, and it's realistic about the women and how they suffered, you know, because the men were hiding. And anyway, it's like a whole thing. I mean, it's also a beautiful short story, you know, and written by a woman. So it I think it's a stunning film. I always forget to add it in there, like, because like the other movies speak more to me, but Brokeback still like really always gets me. That would be my holy four.
I really want to see that. There's something, and I think we've spoke on this now multiple times, but when I look at a script as an actor, there is nothing that I can read, and this is for me, and I'm grateful for that, but there is no character that I can read and not get. Maybe to this day, maybe there will be. I'm not saying that makes me a good actor. I'm saying it makes me human. And
you
there's
can access.
Yes, that there is. If it's a serial killer, I can still identify. I talk about this all the time when I'm coaching actors and stuff, because I know what it's like to be angry. I know what it's like to have these thoughts of being terrible or doing terrible things. The difference is sanity and choosing not to take the action, but I know what that feels like.
Right.
So and it took me years to get comfortable with anger, but if I can be okay with the feelings that go under whatever these characters, male, female, loss, pain, abandonment, whatever the scene may call for, I know what I can identify with those human feelings, and so I can relate to another human being.
Yeah.
I think that's what I find a lot of times actors, I shouldn't say a lot of times, I'll take that back. There are times where I see actors go, I don't get that. Or like, I wouldn't do that.
Well, I think maybe subconsciously they're blocking themselves from getting truly into those shoes. It becomes it's more of a superficial thing then. You know, like you have to be 100% committed to going where that person goes. Yeah. I'm dealing with that with writing, you know, like, because I'm writing a character for myself and I find myself censoring myself still. And it's like, I'm afraid to like look even uglier or look there's like a scene where like, little preview, but like Jim sleeps with this beautiful stranger that it's clearly something that's different than all the other dudes he's been with. And he's not admitting it, but like it feels so real to him. And there's a scene prior to them sleeping together of him sort of like quietly stalking him and like screen capping his Tinder photo, cropping it, and then making it his like lock screen photo. And it's like, I was very afraid to write that into the script and I kept avoiding it. And it's like, I've done that plenty of times.
So many people do
known 3 people. No, I mean, I've known someone for 3 days. And then I'm like, all right, this guy is like making me happy. But it's not even like that I might be putting pressure. It's just for this single moment. It's like putting up a kitty photo that makes you happy. It's like for this moment, you want to remember this person's face. But I was so afraid to write that in. And then it happened again when they sleep together and then they have this like intimate moment. And it's like, they might actually be something. And then they split off before they make it a thing. But he goes and lies back down in the bed, and he smells the pillow, and he finds like one of his hairs, and he just starts like running it on like his eyelid.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, that's such a real thing to me. And I'm so glad that I had the courage to put it back
That's
in
all I
and
was
keep it.
thinking.
But I was so scared of that moment and the Tinder crop photo thing. Like, I'm so scared to like access my humanity and look flawed or look, I'm like, oh, that's going to make him look obsessive compulsive.
Right.
Or like, and maybe
the
it
judgment,
is.
right.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's who I am. And
Right.
that's, I have to embrace every part of me. I can't just take the good and fucking look the other way with the bad. Like,
It's not
and bad is also,
I was going to say.
yeah, exactly. It's completely,
With all the what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what's still a process, a work
Yeah.
in progress, we are.
right.
And all those things. I've been in unhealthy dating where, you know,
Yeah.
like the obsessive thinking on what are they
Right,
going to call
yeah,
and looking at my phone every 2
right, right,
seconds.
right.
And
Right.
you know what? These are all parts that I know they're so hard to let anybody know. I want to act like I'm so cool and I'm not phased.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that I would then call a really good friend and cry
Right.
hysterically because of these things that they're not just about the surface. They're not just about the picture. They go deep of us wanting to connect and being hurt when it doesn't, and on, right?
Yeah.
But it's, thank you for saying it yourself. It's courageous.
Yeah.
You need to show those parts of yourself because those are the human parts that we all connect with.
Those are the moments that everyone's going to
Yep.
understand.
Exactly. And that you have the courage to put out there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
No, yeah. Thank you for hearing it.
So, okay, so that's what's next. So what's the name of it? You've said it a couple
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Your
Electric
film?
Mars.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we
It's
have to look forward to.
it's a title with double meanings because at the end of 01, obviously he pulls out an old box of like illustrations that he's avoided.
Right.
And he was trying to build a graphic novel. That was his like dream. He wanted to make a graphic novel about a robot 400 years into the future who falls in love with another robot. And it was called Electric Mars. And the robot's called Mars. So so at the end of the film, it's him reopening that box of dreams and saying, I might do this.
Yep.
And
I wanted to touch on that. So I'm glad you are. That's perfect. That's
So-
one of the
and
things
so-
I wrote down.
yeah, no, it's funny. And so now Electric Mars is like 2 years later. He's back in Seoul. He has created a space in his apartment that is like a studio, and he's developing. There's lots of doodles and sketches of robots and cityscapes of the future and all of that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to turn that into a story. So he's just vibing as an artist, and that's all that he's doing. He just knows that it's eventually one day going to be this graphic novel called Electric Mars.
Which, just to point out, you spoke about earlier. There's all these parts of yourself. There's all these things, and how is this a story? What should be told? What deserves to be
right.
told? But
Yeah.
so it's just
Yeah, no,
very
yeah,
aligned,
exactly. Yeah,
very aligned
absolutely.
with your character.
And so like that, so the title of the film is kind of this elusive thing. It's like Electric Mars that never gets made because throughout the course of the film, it still doesn't really happen. And then he falls in love, and then love takes the place of the dream. And again, at the end of the film, he's like, I'm left with nothing. I did nothing with this last year of my 20s, kind of. And there's a journey there for him to come to peace with that, finally, truly, in his own way. But then the other thing for me is like, it's like the equivalent of calling the film Jimmy Park. It's like Electric Mars is like him, and is like he's making this like graphic novel about a robot, but it's like Mars representing, like the idea is that his nickname in high school was Mars because he's like the god of war. Like he has such a temper and rage issues, and he's always at war and conflict with himself. And then the electric part is the part of him that's beautiful and like stunningly young and naive and you know, like free, and
Dichotomy.
the dichotomy. So for
beauty.
me, Electric
Yeah.
Mars is like that. It's going to just explore like what it looks like to be in conflict with oneself, but through the lens of remembering how electric it felt. And so that's what I'm writing and working on, and we're, you know, slowly taking it one day at a time, you know, and that's all I can do.
So if you guys haven't gathered this already, the beauty of this man's soul and your storytelling and your courage, and you have a fan for life in me. You know that. I adore you, and not just because you are the most beautiful human ever, but because I speak about your work objectively. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you're doing beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what you guys have to look forward to next.
Yeah.
Electric Mars. Oh God. When do you think? And no timelines because Do you have like a set time you want to kind of have this out and about, or you want to be done with the screenplay, or
I'm hoping to get the screenplay done by April. Like
Okay.
a first draft that can start going out
Yeah.
and be shopped around
Yep,
a
yep,
little
yep.
and get feedback and stuff. I would, in an ideal world, love to be back in Seoul, like location scouting, preparing to shoot end of year, like winter time going into spring of next year, because the film takes place over the seasons and I kind of want to properly capture that
would you
element.
expect to be there a lot, or for a
Yeah,
long
yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah.
or back and
Probably
forth?
like 6 months. Yeah. Shooting, I don't think will take that long,
Right,
but I
right,
think
right.
I want to edit
Be
it
there.
there, and
Yeah.
I want to, yeah. I might even spend some time prior to starting to do a final draft, like in the
Yep.
world of the location again. Yeah.
Yep, immersing yourself. in
Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing. I mean, I've been wanting to do that sooner, but it's hard to do it. Like
Life
financially,
happens.
yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
financially, like other work obligations, it's hard to
that. Yeah.
find a second to fly to the other side of the world and
Yeah.
just enjoy it and write and yeah.
When it's the time, it will. You know
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
You-
yeah, yeah.
You trust the process.
Yes, yeah.
Mostly at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Trying to.
So, all right, for everybody that I'm sure wants to keep up with you,
Mm-hmm.
where can they find you? Where can they see your work?
Yeah. So I'll be back on social media soon enough.
Begrudgingly.
I
Message
IG
him, but don't be upset when he does not message you
That's
back.
I do like love Instagram. I
Yeah.
do use it sort of as a visual journal.
Yeah.
So I will be back on there for sure. And that is my main sort of outlet to reach out to other people or
Yeah.
for other people to see updates on my stuff.
Yeah.
So that's Nicky Neon, Nicky. Or you could just go to my website, nickyneon.com, and there will always sort of be like some information about where you can watch stuff.
Nicky.
Nicky
Just so you guys hear.
Neon.
Mm-hmm.
Ultra Blue is available online already. It's also
Mm-hmm.
available like through like Amazon and another streaming service called Deku, and it's
Mm.
on YouTube. It's about to get re-released on YouTube under the Queer Network. We're
Okay,
working to
wow.
make that happen right now
Wonderful.
in time for a digital world premiere of 01 on the Queer Network and a streaming service. This is going to happen April 1st. So I'm just like planning. We're planning
Fooled
for it.
you.
Wait, what do you mean?
April Fool's Day.
Oh shit. Well, I'm gonna be
such
the
a
one.
nerd.
No,
I'm
that's
such a
so
nerd.
funny. I did not hear that.
Oh, it's amazing.
I promise it's not a lie.
It's really happening.
Yes, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
didn't even tell me
yeah.
that stuff. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what's coming up next.
Amazing. So before I let your lovely self go, for those of you tuning in, you know what time it is. Do you know? That's right. It's time for the big face feather in your cap. So by feather in your cap, we mean a success, achievement, or something you've learned that may help you in the future. So every week, we ask our guest if they wouldn't mind to give our listeners a feather to put in their caps. Would you be willing to share anything with our listeners?
There's so much.
I know.
Give me a second.
And it could be more than one
Yeah.
thing. It could be the first thing that comes to mind.
No.
I just think there's something very special about overcoming something or seeing the other side of something and having a feather in our cap because of it
Yeah.
and being able to offer that to others.
So, I mean, I would have to say that I've spent most of my 32 years on this good green earth feeling behind schedule. And now I know 100% that there is no such thing as being behind your own life. It's at your own pace. It's at your own desire. You choose who comes in and out. You choose what direction you take. You choose how and when you want to love and how you want to create. And the sooner you figure that out, the better you'll be able to sort of leave this world behind knowing that you did what you wanted. And that's that.
Preach, man. Whew, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one. I'll put that in my cap as well. Everybody, we got to thank Nick Neon for being here today. It was a pleasure and an honor always.
For me too. Seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
for
here.
witnessing me. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I'm grateful to have you. And I'm sure we'll have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Love you. Thank you so
Love you.
much, man.
Bye.